Okay, basically what we've got here is a prototype lock-up clutch that's centrifugal as well. You can use your clutch lever in a conventional manner, or you can let the ball bearings do the work for you. Centrifugally, as engine RPM increases, what you'll have is you've got this two-piece pressure plate here, and this is where your last fiber clutch disc touches the area up against the pressure plate, and the stack is behind it. And what happens is this is how I set up my static pressure here and my distance. And as engine RPM increases, these ball bearings here, see, as I push in on the center, they separate away from this two-piece and they start to travel outward. They travel outward in a ramped manner, which allows them to create more distance, or in effect create a thicker pressure plate. In doing so, that pressure plate will put more pressure up against the clutch pack and lock up that clutch even further than it did before. See how that moves up and down when I push on it? So you have kind of the best of both worlds. You've got a motorcycle if you're dealing with a beginner, or maybe some drag racing applications we've heard of. Will give you a very consistent launch. And it's all relative to the ball bearing traveling down that ramp and locking this clutch up as it goes, and it will do so consistently from a starting point that I set up with this static pressure right here. Now, this is my phase 2 clutch deal here, and what I've got is this would in effect be the outer clutch cover here. Okay, and what I'm doing here is I'm working with a banded bearing. Well, with this banded bearing, that'll sit down up against that cover. This outer pressure plate here will have a receiver groove here, drops on top of there like so. Now the bearing is allowing that pressure plate to spin off of that clutch cover. In doing so, that would mean that that pressure plate can no longer move outboard like it would conventionally. Well, I like that idea because I can now take this unit here, which as you can see is my rear portion of the pressure plate that has the ball bearings, and these are larger ones for larger horsepower application. Puts even more pressure on there, and each of these ball bearings heads up that ramp right here, heads up that ramp. As it does, it puts more pressure in here up against that pressure plate. Well, since that outer pressure plate can't move outboard like they do conventionally, it's sending the pressure rearward. Well, guess what's rearward? That's your whole clutch pack, and that's where the pressure is applied, up against that clutch pack. The revolutionary design with this new one is the fact that this whole pressure plate basically floats off of the center bearing outboard of the basket, and it does not physically have to be attached to the doggone clutch basket itself. Whereas on the Generation 1 here, I'll call it, you've got these perimeter bolts that have to actually have a nice long Allen bolt that goes down through, and these are secured into the rear of the basket. So both designs have a very good function, but I'm more inclined to go towards this stage 2 here that I've been doing some research with. So anyways, that's kind of the gist of where we're going with this on some of the components that the Battlestar employs to get down a racetrack. Thanks for your time.